Okay. So no, it's not your imagination. There are spider webs behind me in my library. My granddaughter helped me put those up yesterday. It is my honor to be here. I had a conversation with my wife, Jill, earlier today, and we were talking about our schedule for the day, and I was saying that I was going to be meeting with Commit to Democracy. Is the sound okay? Okay. And she was saying we had a relatively busy day, and I said, you know what? Meeting with readers has become my favorite part of the newsletter. Not the writing of the newsletter, which is great, not the comments to the newsletter, which is great, not the back and forth with readers, which is great, but just actually meeting with readers because I take confidence and hope from you. And I'm amazed to see what it is you are doing. And I see this several times a week. I see it across the country. So imagine what you are doing and multiply it by thousands of other groups doing exactly the same thing. And my God, if we keep that up, there is no way that we will not win. And that is what I'm here to talk about today. Um, so I want to center us for a moment about where we are in the political cycle. And usually, and I think I just think we have to start off by saying we're living through very difficult times. We are in the thick of the fight. And if you are not feeling exhausted and anxious and maybe nervous about the fate of democracy, then there's something wrong with you because to feel those things, to experience those things is perfectly human. That means that you are correctly understanding the threat that we are facing before us. But I am here to tell you today that we are winning. We have momentum. We are 5 days after the largest political demonstration in the history of these United States, and we should be feeling strong and confident as we move forward. But the news cycle is 15 minutes long. And so we may only be 5 days away from the most successful political protest in American history, but we're, a month away in terms of the news cycle turning over and over and over again, which is their point. They want to flood the zone with so much junk that we lose sight of the important things. Well, the most important thing is that we have momentum, that we are winning, and I will talk about that. That doesn't mean we can relent, but I feel like Democrats um, walk around feeling like we're losing when we're not. And one of the reasons we feel that way is because Democrats are so good at criticizing themselves and one another. It's a rare skill that they have refined to a high art, and we should knock it off. Because the problem isn't with the Democratic Party. The problem is with the Republican Party and the president. But the other thing that makes this difficult is that there are two parties in this system, one of whom is attempting to destroy democracy and undermine it and is completely unconstrained by the truth, and the other is being a good corporate citizen and is trying to preserve democracy. And the media is holding those two parties to completely inconsistent standards. Ezra Klein of the New York Times writes almost every day about how the Democrats lost in 2024 and how they lost the working person and how they lost this. And meanwhile, he's not writing about the fact that we have a president who is engaging in extrajudicial killings using the military, which, as a reader pointed out in the comments section today, is also known as murder. And yet those stories are not leading the news in the way that we should. And it just feels bad, doesn't it? I mean, it just wears you out. It makes you feel like, what more do we have to do? Do we have to hold the largest protest in American history before they will ignore us? Which, in the main, the mainstream press did. Now, I think local media did a better job at covering the No King's Day protests. And it makes you tired. It exhausts you. And I know from hearing from some leaders of grassroots groups that they feel that they have been at this for 8 years and they're looking ahead and they can't see what the magic path forward is. What is the thing that is going to um, allow us to win? And I'm here to tell you that I do not know either. But I do know that we cannot quit, because if we quit, we certainly will not achieve our goals. I'm pretty certain that we are going to take back control of one house of Congress in 2026, maybe both. I'm pretty certain we're going to take back the presidency in 2028. Those are good first steps, but they won't be enough by a long shot. We will have to reform the Supreme Court. We will have to rehabilitate the Department of Justice and the FBI. We will have to reconstruct the administrative state. That will take time. And the only way that will happen is if we do not quit. And that sounds simplistic, but it's not. It's the most important thing. And the reason it's the most important thing is because millions of your country people, your fellow citizens are quitting because they believe the system is rigged against them, or they don't see any reason to hope. They read all of the doomsaying in the major media and they think, yeah, all these people who are saying democracy is over, they're probably right. So why should I go out and vote? And that's where you come in. That's where we're commit to democracy, and every single person here tonight is the key to our success. We will win because we will not quit. Democracy will be over when each and every one of us quits. I'm not going to quit. You're not going to quit. And therefore, democracy is not going to be over. But more importantly, by not quitting, by going to No King's Day, by standing by yourself on a roadside or a street corner or an overpass, you are giving hope to others. And you won't know whose lives you have touched. It may be some truck driver going by and saying, you know what? There still are people who haven't given up. And that's enough to lift me up, to keep me connected. I was privileged to speak at No King's Day in Concord, Massachusetts, and there were some people in the crowd who were immigrants and who feared just simply being there, and they were weeping at the fact that so many of their fellow citizens were there standing up for their rights. I saw young trans people in the crowd, and I think they were equally moved. I saw LGBTQ people, Black Americans, Hispanics, women who have been demoted to second-class citizens, and we just treat that like it's an afterthought. And yet we can't. And they were all lifted up by what you did on No King's Day. What you did was a blessing to millions of people, and you won't ever know that fact. But that's okay. You just have to keep doing it. And if you are one of the people who feels like you want to look away, that means that there's nothing wrong with your grip on reality. It's normal to feel that way, and you may need a rest. But what I would urge you to do is just to hang out with people who are still committed to the fight. Just be in their presence. Sit next to them while they write postcards. Stand next to them while they protest on a street corner. You don't have to do anything. And sooner or later, their spirit will infuse you, renew you, and lift you up again. So it's a symbiotic relationship in which it's a win-win situation where we will preserve democracy. Now, one of the things that makes this moment so hard is the press was not constructed to deal with someone who just simply breaks all norms. They're not up to the task. And so despite the success of No King's Day, it feels like we may be losing, like our grip on democracy may be loosening. that we don't really have the momentum. And I am here to tell you that is not true. There was another poll out today, and let me say, you should ignore the polls, but it's okay to look at all of the polls over time and see there if there is a trend. And yes, there is a trend, and that is since his inauguration, Donald Trump and his policies have become more and more and more unfavorable. It is a straight arrow. You can draw a line through these polls. And what we learned today is there was only one president who, at this point in his presidency, was more unpopular than Donald Trump currently is, and that was Richard Nixon during the height of the Watergate scandal. So the American people understand what he is doing. They can see that he is kidnapping citizens and immigrants off the street because of the color of their skin. They can see that he's adopted these wacko medical theories that is making every one of us less safe and less healthy, less prepared for the next pandemic. He's ripping special education money away from children, parents of children with autism and disability. For whatever reason, Robert Kennedy thinks that that's a waste of taxpayer money, when in fact it is one of the highest and best uses of taxpayer money. It is a sign of civilization and humanity that we take care of those who need to be taken care of. Um, Trump is losing on the environment. He's losing on the economy. He's losing on corruption. I mean, today he pardoned a crypto billionaire who has helped the Trump family profit by an obscene amount, but who also ran a crypto fund that was a home for terrorists and drug smugglers and human traffickers. Trump pardoned that criminal. And that message doesn't sit right with the American people. It doesn't sit right with the American people that Mike Johnson has withheld or held Congress out of session for what, 28 days because they don't want to release the Epstein files because Donald Trump's name is apparently in those files in a way that will be embarrassing to Trump. I don't know. I haven't seen the Epstein files. Neither have you. Trump ran on the promise that he would release them. All of these things matter. His attacks on trans people. And I am just so sorry to say this, but we know it is coming. The Supreme Court is considering granting cert in a case that would overturn Obergefell, which is the case that recognized same-sex marriage. So sometime in the next week or two or three, we will hear whether the Supreme Court this term will take up a case that is postured to overrule Obergefell, which means everyone, every LGBTQ person, and everyone who is a family member or who is a friend or who loves and respects an LGBTQ person will be affected by the second case in our lifetime that will take rights away from American citizens, the first being the shameful decision in Dobbs. But I think that Republicans are overplaying their hand. And I want to talk about this because it's kind of this intersection between the doomsayers and, all is lost and why we should be hopeful. We all saw what happened in Texas, where they redrew the congressional maps so that they could capture 2024 voting patterns and presumably give 5 more seats to Trump in the House. And now we have other states that are doing exactly the same thing. And I don't know what the totals are, but the combined effect of those states, as well as the potential decision in the gutting of Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act that's upcoming, I mean, it's led some commentators, many commentators, to just say flat out, Democrats are not going to be able to reclaim the House in 2026. And I have a very specific response to that, which is utter bullshit. Do not listen to those people. Do not believe them, because they are assuming that we are potted plants and sheep with no agency, no ability to turn people out to vote. Let's look at Texas. Texas redrew those districts on the assumption that voters in Texas would vote the same way in 2026 as they voted in 2024. How many people think that is going to happen? I hope no one, because what the polls show is that Trump's approval rating among independents is down to 30%. No candidate can win an election in America with only 30% support from independents. And the swing among Hispanic Latino voters in Texas is something like 20 points against Trump. So they've created 5 new supposedly safe Republican districts. I think we have every hope to win those seats and the seats that they weakened in order to create those 5 new seats. I know that there are voting advocate organizations out there where they have exactly that plan. So we should feel confident that they are overplaying their hand. And then I want to give you the coup de grace here. In Texas, in national federal elections, elections involving the House and the president, the turnout rate is miserable. It's like 46% in Texas overall. But the turnout rate among Democrats in Texas is 41%. Now, if we could get Democratic turnout in Texas up to, let's say 55% or 60%, or a national average of 65% in a presidential or House election, we could win almost every seat in Texas. So we have the ability to change the outcome. And everyone who is writing headlines saying this Supreme Court decision or this decision by a legislature in XYZ state or Texas is dooming Democrats is just wrong. They are selling news short. They are selling me short. We are not giving up. We are going to fight this battle. And not that we should ever rely on Trump's failures for us to succeed, but the time between today and November 2026 is a period of time that is known in scientific literature as infinity. Everything that can happen will happen in that time. And if you think it's been bad up to this point, it's going to get worse. It's going to ultimately get better, but it's going to get worse. And if all the things that Trump has done up to this point has made him the second least popular president since World War II at this point in his presidency, imagine where he will be in November of 2026. Now, I know Trump isn't on the ballot, but for whatever reason, Republicans cannot quit Donald Trump. They will defend absolutely everything he does, including naming this new garish ballroom the Jeffrey Epstein Ballroom. He hasn't proposed that yet, but if he did, they would say, oh, that's fine. There were no proof that Jeffrey Epstein did anything wrong because there's no evidence. We haven't released the file, so you can't prove it. So I am going to stop in a minute. I just want to leave you with 2 thoughts. And that is, we are not prisoners of the past. We are not entries in a data sheet. We are not pixels on a consultant screen. We are not variables in an algorithm. We are people with agency who are not prisoners of the past and who can and will change the outcome. And the second point is where I started. Whatever you do, don't quit. As long as you don't quit, we will outlast them. I guarantee you that we will outlast them. We are going through a reactionary retrograde period in American history, and it is painful as hell. There will be some regression to the mean. There will be the work of groups like Commit to Democracy and thousands of other groups across America. And because of you, we will restore democratic norms. We will restore the rule of law. We will rehabilitate the Constitution. We will reform the Supreme Court. All it takes is not giving up. And that's what you do every day. And that's why I'm leaving this call today when I go to have dinner with my family, my grandkids, my sons-in-laws, my daughters, my wife. I'm going to feel better because I know you're out there not giving up. God bless you all. Thank you for everything you're doing. It's my honor to be here with you, and I'm happy to answer some questions.